Good morning, students. Welcome again to video lecture BBA, third unit, organizing. Earlier in this video, we are going to understand about centralization and decentralization. Decentralization and centralization. One man show, and this will be linked with each other, coordinated, linked with each other. In detail, we will understand in further slides. Earlier, we completed video lectures, organizing meaning, importance, process, span of management, formal and informal organizations, organization structures, departmentalization, authority, delegation, responsibility, and now we are going to understand centralization and decentralization. Next video, we will understand about line and staff relationship. Okay. Now we will understand the concepts which we are going to understand in this video. What is centralization and decentralization and how performance will be evaluated. Distinction between delegation and decentralization. Advantages of centralization and decentralization. What are the factors determines the extent of centralization, types of decentralization, prerequisites, making decisions in decentralized, and a case study was explained by taking the example of food industry. Okay, students, look at the centralization. Reservation of authority at central point within the organization. Okay, people will hold the power and authority with them, and they will manage the subordinates. So executive director is appointing the two directors or two managers, finance manager and operations manager. Finance manager is supported by executive administrative officer and also operations two are there. Okay, here the authority is vested with the executive director. Then the circumstances varying centralization of decision making power. Number one, for the small organization to survive the competition because only one person will be there. Small organization, 1, 5, 10, 20 like that is there. Only one person will be the decision maker. So he is the whole and sole responsible person, or we can call him as a owner. Example is a partnership firm as well as a sole trader. So essential for small organization to survive the competition. Okay, local companies, local business units, they vest their power with them for decision making, and which will give competition to the local. Then unified direction and integration. Unified direction and integration. Boss is the final authority. Centralization may become essential to provide unified direction to activities and keep integration. So all the people will are under the one person. One person may be the owner sometimes. Most probably for the small organization will be the owner. It ensures overall organizational perspective. So then coming to the outstanding leader. Take the advantage of outstanding leader in early stages of enterprise for taking quick decisions. Okay. So the circumstance which is empower the person as a leader because he is the only person taking the decisions as well as quick decisions. Then coming to the prompt action. Centralization of decision making ensures prompt action necessary to meet the emergencies. Okay, in the company type of setup, a decision to be taken, then a meeting to be convened, and before that, circular to be issued, and that should be reached to each and everybody, ensure that it is reached to everybody or not, and later meeting point, agenda, and there will be uh, voting regarding that. So all these are not necessary in taking the decisions under centralization, because a person, two people, three people are there, they will take the decisions very quickly. Reduce overall cost. Centralization reduce overall cost in the sense few people are there, not more directors, more managers. For the large organizations, more people are needed for controlling. That's why more cost is required. And again, controlling is there. It ensures effective means of controlling the operational units. Okay, you take the example of Google Chat. Owner will be owner, other people who are will be there, and you just ask them their turnover, how much in a day. So he will control everybody, either manufacturing, either preparation, distribution, collection. Everything will be controlled by the only one or two persons belongs to that organization. So it ensures effective means of controlling the operation units. So that is, these are the circumstances which make centralization for decision making. Okay. Then coming to the, what are the factors which are influencing this centralization? One is cost and the risks associated with the decision, which could have a heavy impact on performance. Cost and risk associated with the decision. One is cost. If I take the more people for governing body or for the decision making team, more salaries I have to pay, and that is also a risky to me because opinions will be differentiated. They have their own opinions which may delay in decision making. An individual manages performance for a high degree of involvement in detail and confidence in subordinates. Some may prefer to delegate while some may not. Okay? So one man show or one person, where it is called as centralization of authority, which helps them for taking the decisions, very quick decision, and also giving a high degree preference in involvement. Okay? The history of an organization culture say under a strong leader may have centralized structure. Exactly. You take the example. Okay? I have to quote a case, that is a direct CEO was appointed by one company which is belongs to the minority company. Suppose 100 are the shares are there, and the one company is having 16% shares, 16 shares. So because of the performance of an individual who is representing that 16% shares, was appointed as a leader, CEO of the company. Later they come across with that may harm to their other 84% of shareholders. They decided to remove them from the post. So, because the organization culture or history is having a in the market, they have a good name, and they come across or they thought that because of electing a CEO, chairman of as a, elected as a chairman of the company, who is representing less number of shares, may spoil or may damage their image. So here the point is, the history of an organization culture say under the strong leader may have centralized structure. That's why most of the business organizations which were promoted by the families, usually their family members will lead the companies. Okay. Cave Coffee Day, take the example. Okay, na? PV Siddhartha, he left abroad. So now who has to take that control of that organization, which is having 6,000 crores of assets and a network throughout the world and more. They are having plantation, coffee plantation. Okay, so the family member, wife, took over the control of the organization. So that is the leadership history itself. And lack of abilities of lower level managers may create a lack of faith in them. Okay, because of the faith, the lower level people are not having the faith, then it is difficulty to decentralize. Decentralization in the sense, if the people are not, we didn't find the people with the trust and responsible, then we cannot give the power, extend the power to them. It is better to have the hold the power, that is the centralization. Okay. So what are the factors which influence the centralization are cost and risk and preference, high degree of preference in involvement, history of an organization under the strong leader, and ability of lower level managers, which is we are, if we are unable, if we were not identify the abilities of the manager, lower level manager, then we can't extend our, the power to the subordinates, which leads to centralization. Then application of centralized structure. Look at that. Small businesses often operate in centralized manner simply because of smaller size of their workforce. Okay. You take SKS Motors, which is available in Hyderabad. Few are there. They have their own servicing organization. Okay. And that was run by somebody, which was owner of that one, okay, not small business. And that person will look after all the garages in Andhra Pradesh as well as Telangana. Small business owner may be the only manager in the entire company with all other employees reporting directly to the owner. Organizational designs can change as small companies grow. Okay, so once the person was started with the sole trader, may be grown to the partnership business. That will he will expand that one. Okay, an example, a truck company is an example of a company which is centralized organization. Truck fleeting companies are, and a truck company managers make all operation decisions, sending information to the individual drivers through dispatchers. Presently, the communication era is changed. Okay, so a single person can manage the fleet of the trucks. So one here centralized means one person or the owner is the final person. Then we are next one we are going to discuss about decentralization. Okay, and decentralization means forms that grant substantial decision-making authority to the managers of subunits are referred to as a decentralized organization. Exactly. Okay. What they are doing? So a plant or some other manufacturing units are there in different locations. A person is appointed as a in charge for the decision making, and that is the centralized powers are extended to the different levels or next levels for the decision making purpose. Most firms are neither totally centralized nor totally decentralized. Depends upon means if they have some limits are there. Even though in decentralized structure, they have some limits are there in decision making. So you take the example of banks. Bank would like to sanction a loan worth rupees 10 lakhs. It can take a decision. Manager can take a decision. The loan amount is more than 10 lakhs and less than 1 crore. Then next level manager, zonal manager or some other need to be intervened and has to be give accent. Okay. So firms here we can say it is not a centralized one or not a totally decentralized one. And their corporate loans, separate bank is there, separate section is there, like that. So here we will find the steps. Look at the steps. Step one here, decision making will be taken. Authority is also there, and but he is having some limitations. Over the limitations, he has to contact the above person, and over that he has to contact the highest person itself. Okay. Then coming to the decentralization authority. Authority means dispersal of decision making power to the lower levels of the organization. Branch manager at the bank is the final person to take a decision to his purview. Decentralization refers to the systematic effort to delegate to the lowest levels of authority, except that which can only be exercised at central points. Okay, I'm already telling. So decentral power will be extended, but there will be some limitations are there. Over the limitations, they have to ask the permission of other people. Okay, authority of decentralization, same thing as a delegation. Delegation means entrust of the responsibility and authority from one individual to the other itself. The decentralization means scattering of authority throughout the organization. It is diffusion of authority with the entire enterprise. Here, once we gave the authority or responsibility to an individual, he is a whole and sole responsible person. But decentralization, it is having some limitations. Decentralization is distinct from dispersion. Dispersion occurs when the plant and offices are located at different places with a physical distance between them. A company may be highly centralized, although its physical facilities, employees are widely dispersed, and company may be highly decentralized, even though all the physical facilities, employees are located in single building. Okay, take the example of State Bank of India head office. Head office in the sense overall powers are vested with them, but there are certain divisions are there, division heads are there according to the they created that divisions, and even though bank is central bank or the office is located at everything is located at a head office, but the powers are dispersed. And even though powers are dispersed to different locations, plant locations, okay, you take the E-Nadu newspaper. It was printed simultaneously many places, but it was controlled from the Somajiguda office, head office, or the office from the Ramoji Film City. Okay, and in the same manner, Hindu newspaper, that is also controlled from Chennai, maybe some other place. Okay, but printing, distribution is dispersed to the some other locations. Okay, that is the centralization, decentralization. Then reasons for evaluating the subunit performance, identification of successful areas of operations, influence, leave it. Responsibility accounting, application of decentralized structures, where we are using this decentralized structure. Franchise organizations provide an ideal example of decentralized structure. Okay, you will find tea time Namaste tea or something you will find. That is their brand name. Okay. So whatever they said, the person who took franchise has to obey the rules and regulations. None other than he can't take any decisions. But everything is run by the person who took franchise. That is decentralized structure. Franchise companies control most product development and marketing decisions at the top, but they give franchise owners a great deal of independence in running their individual stores. Okay, so I took a store which I am taking for the distribution of Amazon itself. I can recruit the people my own, I will pay the salaries my own, I will control the people, and but the rules are framed by the Amazon. According to the orders which were given by Amazon, I have to take decisions for distribution and collection. Franchise owners are making staff decisions, decisions on hours of operations, compensation decisions completely on their own. Okay, big organizations too, they cannot have control on total structures widespread over all over the India. That's why they will provide franchise centers. So franchise companies are having their own decision. They can take own decisions. Bata is a example for franchise. They can appoint the people and they can take a decision on hours of operations. Means so data showroom or data barter showroom you can open, that is your wish, 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock, or if you want to keep open from evening 5 o'clock to morning 5 o'clock, you can take the decision. And if any compensation decisions also you can take by your own. Franchise center Bata will supply the chappals and shoes what they are manufacturing, and you have to sell on behalf like consignee, and you have to pay the money to them. Remaining everything is done by you itself. Okay? Example, companies with the wide geographical reach also can benefit from decentralized structure. Wide decent geographical in the sense many companies have locations in different areas, so they are connected with each other and controlled from the central department, and but the plant which are at Jahirabad, they have their own operational style or operational possibilities. Difference between delegation and decentralization. Right. Delegation is delegation of authority, but the decentralization is authority is more than one level. Just we um, pass our delegation to the next level, decentralization, whole everything. But the delegation is just for some time we pass our authority to the next level. Delegate takes place between a superior and subordinate. Delegation means delegation is in between superior and subordinate. When the superior asks his subordinate to do something on behalf of his delegation. And decentralization is spreading of the total decision making power. Decentralization means we appoint one person in charge for the Vijayawada operations. He is whole and sole responsible continuously. But in the case of delegation, just for some time, where our absence is there, we ask to execute the duties or duties of the our subordinate. Okay. In delegation, control rests entirely with the superior or delegator. So in delegation, control rests entirely with the superior or delegator. And here we can take the example when Prime Minister is leaving for some other country for more time, more than 15 days or 20 days. and a person will be given as a in charge prime minister, not in charge prime minister. In absence of prime minister, he will look after. So in control, result rests entirely with the superior or delegator. Control is rest entirely with the superior or delegator. So till the prime minister returns, everything will be looked after by the in charge minister or whoever it may be. Okay, recent example is not sure about Kerala prime minister went for US some medical grounds, and actually in such case a in charge minister will be appointed, senior person will be appointed to look after the day to day activities. But he told that I will look after everything from the hospital itself, because of the this is possible with the increase of communication channels. Okay, the top management may exercise control only in general manner and delegate the authority for control to the departmental managers. So in the case of decentralization, top management may exercise control only in a general manner and delegate the authority for the control of to the department. So in the case of decentralization, everything is vested with the in charge production manager who is in charge of our Jahirabad plant. Okay. Delegation is must for management. It has compulsory. Subordinates must be given sufficient authority to perform their assignments. We have to train them. We have to make aware them about the organization, which may which may require for future. This delegation helps them. Okay? Decentralization is nothing but the person himself is enjoying the controlling over that. Okay? And centralization and decentralization tendencies. Complete decentralization, no organization structure, so authority is delegated like that. And complete centralization, authority is not delegated. Complete centralization means holding the power with one person. Decentralization means holding the power with the one person only, but those powers are extended to the next level where the control is required. Then delegation. Okay, na? Delegation already we studied, I think. Delegation. Right. Advantage. Centralization and decentralization. Environment is stable. Centralization means only one person is there. He is a whole and sole responsible person. Okay. Decentralization, environment is complex and uncertain because he has to control the subordinates and he has to obey the superior orders from the central office. Okay. So it will be little bit complex. Lower level managers are not as capable or experienced at making decisions as upper level managers. So power is vested with the central team or one person. So there is no case of having the decision making power at the lower level managers. Lower level managers are capable and experienced at making decisions. Okay, here lower level managers are also given authority for decision making. Lower level managers do not want to have a say in decision making. They don't participate in that. In centralization of decision making or centralization, lower level managers they don't participate. And lower level managers want a voice in decision making. In a decentralization, when they want to come and see a new product in their plant, and all the people will have a meeting and discuss among themselves how to start operations of new product which was assigned by the central office to manufacture at this plant. They have the here lower level people also participate in decision making. Decisions are significant and here decisions are relatively minor. minor decisions were taken in decentralization. Minor and major decisions were taken at centralization. Organization is facing a crisis or the risk of a company failure. Exactly. Because I already told the example of Cave Coffee Day, CCD owner. Okay, suddenly he died, and many people, those who gave money to the CCD, they are demanding to repay, and at that time, family was not trained to that level itself. So there is a gap, vacuum at the leadership level. So it takes time, 6 months or 7 months, 8 months to get acquainted with the regular operations. Recently, the wife of Siddhartha took over the charge to run the company itself as a CEO. So organization is facing a crisis or the risk of company failure. So no other person is trained in company operations because power is centralized. Power is centralized. So that's why Ambani, he is training his children by making them as directors of different companies. So corporate culture is open to allowing managers to have a say in what happens. So these people in decentralization, people were given training and people were given time to understand different operations. And decentralization is possible with the large companies and also small companies. But decentralization is possible, and which is advantage when it is geographically located at different places. Effective implementation of company strategies. So here it is, companies, decision making is with the company owner, one person only. So he will pass the rule, everybody has to abide that. Effective implementation of company strategies depend upon managers having involvement and flexibility to make decisions. Here, decision making is taken by the next level, and sometimes they may follow or they may not follow. Okay, so the structures of centralization and decentralization. Decentralization will be like this: level 4, 3, 2, 1, top manager, functional managers, supervisors, and workers. Centralized approach. Okay, only one person, everybody, top to bottom, will be controlled by the top person. Okay, then coming to advantages, the advantages of decentralization over centralization. Reduce the burden of chief executive who has to bear the entire burden of decision making in centralization. Okay, in centralization, all operations would have to be looked after by the general manager. And in decentralization, functional managers are appointed and given authority and responsibility they will look after. So, burden of governance will be reduced. With the addition of new activities or product lines, an organization tend to grow complex and may pose a challenge to the top executives, which can be met by the decentralization under the overall coordinating purview of the top management. Suppose a new product was introduced all over India. In the centralization, that is the company belongs to India itself. So in the case of example of centralization, from the Indian soil, all the companies marketing may not be possible due to control and guide. So what the company will do? Company will appoint in charges of different countries as in charges, and the authority and responsibilities were transferred to them to take the decisions, which is very easy. Just the head of the company from India can monitor the only heads of the marketing heads of the different countries. Decentralization avoids red tapeism in making decisions as it places responsibility for decision making as near as possible into the place where action takes place. Decentralization avoids red tapeism. Red tapeism in the sense boss will take the decision, subordinate has to follow. If the boss was not taken decision, that's all. Keep quiet. Okay, that will be there. So here decentralization, next level people, functionaries are going to take decision, which will reduce the burden on the bosses or centralized authorities. When authority is decentralized, the subordinates get opportunities of taking initiative to develop the managerial talents. Exactly. Okay. So you take the example of companies, proprietorship or partnership. They are the only one person, two persons or three persons will take the decisions. They don't give chance to express the opinion of subordinates and also don't allow them to participate in decision making. But in the case of decentralization, a person will be given in charge. He will take the decisions. Okay. Coming to the decentralization promotes the improvement of motivation of subordinates, which is reflected in better work performance. Decentralization promotes the improvement of morale. One under the sole trader, you are a subordinate. In centralization, under the decentralization, you are a boss to a particular function or a particular plant or particular geographical area, which is improve your morale as well as motivate you to work for the company. Greater the degree of decentralization, it's the more effective becomes a span of control. Okay. So greater the degree of decentralization in the sense to what extent we can extend the powers and where there is a possibility of supervision, which we understood the earlier video, that is span of control, span of management. You know, not more than that, we can't provide the decentralization. And in addition to the above advantages, decentralization also achieves the several internal and external economies. Exactly. Okay. Every time centralized power is to be guide, monitor and everything, and that may possible of taking decision, delay in decision making. But a functional head is having the power to take decisions and implement very fast. Okay, then you can look at this one, all our text. Right? Then other advantages of decentralization relieves top management of some burden of decision making and forces upper level managers to let go. So decentralization helps the upper level managers to feel free and in policy making, encourages decision making and assumption of authority and responsibility, gives managers more freedom and independence in which decision making. So these are the advantages of decentralization. Other disadvantages of decentralization make it more difficult to have a uniform policy. Okay, so everybody will take their own decisions. So screw manufacturing companies are there. And all the screw manufacturing companies have to manufacture the different die of screws. You can't take your own die or method or model itself. Okay. So, but when the decentralization comes, then the powers are vested with the head. He can't tell that I am the head of this institution and I am head of this plant, so I can make my own screws like that. So makes it more difficult to have a uniform policy, increase complexity of coordination, Loss of some control by upper level may be limited by inadequate control techniques, may be constrained in inadequate planning and control system, limited by availability of qualified managers. So these are the few disadvantages of decentralization. Then coming to the factors determining the extent of decentralization. One is the size, another one is the cost, another one is the production line. Production line. These are the factors which affect the decision making or decentralization. Okay. And management philosophy at the top of management determines to a large extent how much authority the managers in the organizations are willing to retain or delegate down line. Okay. So it is interest of the top management. And environmental influences sometimes guide an organization structure functioning to be decentralized. Environment influences sometimes guide an organization structure. This is the period of Corona where physical movement is not possible and they are asking us to take a decision where it is not possible to convey board meeting. So then what we will do? Then we will vest the powers to the subordinates. Current trend toward increased employee participation and higher education levels may lead to increased decentralization. We recruited a manager who is from the America, who is from America. He is working from work from home, and after 1 month, 2 months are over, American person is working from home for the Indian business unit. So after 2 months, our American in charge was resigned for which he got a better opportunity. So which will be possible to appoint this person. Okay. Current trend towards increased employee participation and higher education level may lead to increased decentralization. Now what we are doing earlier, we are controlling the American business unit, US business unit from India itself. Now a person who is qualified and who is know about the American laws and everything, now we are giving in charge to them for that unit. Computers may increase the decision making power of top management and thus leads to centralization. Okay. So in any case, software were developed in decision making which helps the top management to vest the powers with them where and types of decentralization. One is it is divisional or profit centers. Another one is cost centers. It is the responsibility center whose budgetary performance is measured through profits or loss. Okay, take the Bajaj Electronics or having different location, different stores in different locations. In charges were appointed for each location wise. He is the responsible person. Who is the whose budgetary performance is measured through the profits or losses. Now they want to make a award a one person. Then how they will monitor that one through the profits of such unit. Okay, its responsibility is handled by a manager who is responsible for achieving the goals. Okay, Reliance trends and in which unit is giving more profit and they can easily understand. They will make the person to be responsible for bringing the organization into profits. Each division is given operational independence so that it can calculate its own profit. In Reliance Fresh or Reliance Fresh or Reliance Trends or whatever it may be, a person as per the shop was given in charge and his performance is calculated through profit. Either small shop or big shop itself. And it is a responsibility center where the budgetary performance depends upon achieving goals by operating with standard cost limits. So profit is also one of the factor for evaluating the performance of the in charge in decentralization, as well as cost is also one of the factor. So a person who is controlling the more cost is also important. It has also to provide required support to the rest of the organization, such as accounting staff, etc. Accounting staff are needed in all departments, all departments. Okay, so centralized authority will give support to the subordinating authority or decentralization. Decentralization. Example is accounting staff. Types of decentralization, you look at into that. Another one is prerequisites for decentralization. So establishment of appropriate centralized headquarters. But one is so geographical locations is one of the point for the decentralization. In decentralization, centralized headquarters is necessary, which will act as the nerve center of the enterprise. So where they are provided. Most of the software companies are in Hyderabad, where there some companies are having their head offices, which they thought that controlling the software, other subunits from Hyderabad is very easy. Development of managers. So in decentralization, a head session head is required to run that level or function. That's why what they will do, they will train the managers. Okay. And the provision of adequate coordinating system, AI, ML, MI, VR, AR. AI stands for artificial intelligence, VR virtual reality, AR augmented reality, ML machine learning, okay, cloud computing. These are the computerized softwares which helps them in coordination and control, even though operations are decentralized. Okay, then prerequisite establish effective control, establish product or divisional committees, adequate policies that are laid or guide in decision making. Structure must be reorganized to facilitate decentralized operations. Then this text you can go through that one. Here, can you compensate the potential cost of decentralization? How can you take the advantage of economies of scale in everything is decentralized? And look at the case study of Ford global study. Ford. You can text is there, you can easily understand how the decentralization is happening in Ford company. Okay, students. So we'll finish the video here itself, and later we will the next important topic, that is line and staff relationship. Okay, bye students. Bye. We'll meet you next video.